just to find out what your highs and your lows are on the weather front. Now, let's talk about what Fitch did yesterday. It has affirmed South Africa's long-term foreign and local currency debt ratings of BB+ with a stable outlook. Fitch has cited that despite the country's credit strengths of deep local capital markets, favourable government debt structure and a track record of fairly prudent fiscal and monetary policy, South Africa's ratings continue to be weighed down by low potential economic growth. Sizable contingent liabilities and deteriorating governance in state-owned companies. Standard & Poor's rating is expected out today. So to make some sense out of all those big words, I'm sure you're hearing them and thinking, what does that all mean? We've got Dr. Mampho Modise in studio with us, the Chief Director for Strategy and Risk at Treasury. Good to have you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's try and decipher what that all meant, because there were a lot of big words in there. But the reality is that what we've seen is that Fitch has held us at a stable rate. I mean, what does that say about the economy?
It says that we have some chance in improving, actually, because we're not further into the junk status. However, you wouldn't want to be in junk as a country. You want to aim to be an investment grade. But what this means is that we have between 12 to 18 months to improve our economy, and they will reconsider the decisions that they have made.
Okay, so, I mean, we're on hold at the moment, but is it a vote of confidence in South Africa?
To some extent, you may say yes, because they didn't lower the investment grade further down, but a vote of confidence would actually be an investment grade. I think that what we have to do, we have a chance to improve this, and that's what we need to focus on as government and as South Africa in general.
Yeah. So when you mean focus on government, obviously, I mean, we're seeing what's going on a political front, and we cannot separate the two. It's impossible to separate it. So, again, there were alarm bells ringing for the state of governance in the country.
Mm-hmm. I think that what is important for us to note or to take home is that while there are political noise, while there are politics, government has very strong institutions. You have the Treasury that continues to do its work. You have the Reserve Bank that continues to do its work. You have our judicial system that is still so independent. So basically, the independent institutions is what's going to help the economy turn around. Look, I mean, it's a small democracy. It's a young democracy. There will always be political noise. However, the noise shouldn't derail policy implementation, and that's what the rating agencies are saying.
Yeah. All right. So, you know, when we look at South Africa's economy, because together with this announcement, we also saw something in terms of job creation and the unemployment rate that came out yesterday, which was very frightening. So, I mean, we're sitting at a 13-year high with very little hope of employment. This was announced yesterday. Just to go deeper into it, we're sitting at a 27.7% unemployment rate, which means that 6.2 million people out of a workforce of 22.4 million do not have jobs. I mean, that is a frightening figure. Job creation in this environment, I mean, it's very difficult, no doubt.
Of course. I mean, what makes it even more difficult is the fact that investors don't really have much confidence in the country. So that will definitely affect your employment. I think what we focus on now is really getting business confidence, really trying to bring all sorts of investors, whether international or domestic investors, to start investing in the country. Then that way, that's when you're going to start seeing some level of unemployment. But you're certainly right. The numbers yesterday were quite frightening. And in such a low growth environment, it's going to be difficult for the people to find any form of employment. Yeah. So what we need to focus on is just making sure that South Africa is an economy that brings foreign investors, even local investors, so that we can turn this thing around.
Yeah. I mean, I know that from the minister's perspective, there's been a lot of talk. Our new finance minister, Malusi Gigaba, he's basically re-engaging with the private sector, with Labour, civil society, for joint activities. Now, what does the minister hope to achieve through all of this?
It's basically simple. We need to boost investor confidence. If the investors or business is confident that government will implement the policies they say they're going to implement, they will finalize legislation, they will make it easy for business to engage in South Africa, then all we have to to, or not hope for per se, but all we have to do is just to make sure investors come through. So his main idea is to bring investors and invest in South Africa to have some level of economic activity going.
Yeah.
I think doing that, then we will deal with other government policy issues, like unemployment is one of them, but poverty still remains one of those big issues government has to deal with. With confidence, I think that will be a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a big question mark on the running of state-owned enterprises. And again, Fitch stated this and said they're very worried about the instability at our state-owned enterprises. We can see what's going on, and that there are so many top positions that are vacant, and that they have, you know, acting CEOs, acting CEOs, you name it, it's all happening. To stabilize state-owned enterprises, I imagine this has to be a top priority.
Certainly. I mean, I think the nice thing about the rating announcements is that they're announcing things that we already know.
Yeah.
So it is not something new that we have to deal with our state-owned companies. Cabinet approved and certain state-owned company measures that we have to implement, and that was in November last year. So I think with those, with those measures, we going in the right direction. Look, we started implementing this, and there was the cabinet reshuffle, which sort of delayed the process a bit, but this is going ahead. The new ministers are taking running of the state-owned companies quite seriously, and they're going to implement these reforms that were approved and endorsed by cabinet.
Yeah. In terms of expectations for S&P today, what are you expecting out of them?
I'm hopeful that the ratings will remain as it is now, because we can't afford to have anything lower. No. But as a country, or when we were engaging with S&P, all we were trying to do is to make sure that we turn the ship around. I mean, once you announce a downgrade, you do give the sovereign some time to implement and deal with the issues that you have identified. So even with S&P, we have that 12 to 18-month period where they will monitor our progress. They will make sure that they understand what we're doing. So I'm hopeful that the decision won't be worse off than where we are now.
Yeah. Just before I let you go, and it's on a very different topic, but being from Treasury, perhaps you can give us a little bit of an update on the revelations this week in the KPMG report that came out. And I think it's a vital report we need to focus on, that the Public Investment Corporation, that's the PIC, under the leadership of its CEO, Dan Matjila, was in crisis and was flouting governance. What's the latest on this? I am putting you on the spot.
Yes,
I realize that. But
yes,
do you have any updates for us?
No updates for now, no.
No?
No,
right.
updates for now.
No comments on this one?
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, though.
Thanks
for coming in.
Me.
Thanks for talking to us here on the program. Basically, there you have it. I mean, the talk is of Fitch and all the ratings agencies. We'll see what S&P does today. But Fitch keeping us on hold, but still putting a big question mark and a worrying symbol over governance in the country, and particularly when it comes to state-owned enterprises to get their ducks in a row, one should say, and just get their things in order so that they're running much smoother. Dr. Mampho Modise is the Chief Director of Strategy and Risk Management at the National Treasury. Let's take a break. We'll have more after this.